Good morning, Year 5. Happy Monday. Hope you've had a lovely weekend and are ready for a brand new week of learning. This week, we are going to be carrying on with writing our story. However, we're going to move away from our spirit animal descriptors. We've done them now. We were really impressed by what you came up with and the great language, figurative language that you used to describe your, I'm going to carry on, spirit animal. This week, we are going to be moving on to our setting description. So we're going to be thinking about where our story is set. And we're going to be having a go at using some of that great language that we used last week, using some more language that we're going to find this week to describe our setting. So I'm just going to share my screen. Here we go. So what are we doing today? We're going to be identifying the features of a setting description. How? By retrieving old learning. We've all written a setting description before. If I cast your mind back to before Christmas when we wrote that setting description about the Viking Yuletide. And why? So we can begin to describe our own settings. So today is going to ease us into the week. We're going to have a little look at a Waggle and see what features we can identify. Then we're just going to have a quick Rainbow Grammar rewind where we're going to put some of those sentences onto Rainbow Grammar cards to make sure that's nice and fresh in our mind for this week. Let's begin. Let's have a look then at our Waggle. So all we're going to do with our Waggle is we're going to have a read through of it together. Then we're going to have a look to see what features we can identify. Now, you might recognise the structure that I've used to write this Waggle, and we're going to have a go at using the same structure at the end of the week to write your Waggles too. Okay, so when you read this, you might think, oh, that sounds really tricky. I don't know how I'm going to be able to write that. Trust me, you absolutely are. We're going to be using a structure to help you do that. Okay, so let's have a read of it together. Beneath the towering peaks of the mountains, amongst the forest of ancient trees, the woodland was alive with the mesmerising sights and sounds of rural India. The sunlight poured through the forest canopy and danced on the leaves below, but the air was still bitterly cold, biting at our cheeks like razor blades. I don't think we should go any further, Asher, Jeevan pleaded, beginning to look increasingly anxious. Stretched out as far as the eye could see, the magnificent pine trees were cloaked in a layer of snow until the winter sun began to slowly warm the branches. Rapidly, the stream, an outlet of the Narmada River, flowed nearby, the sound trickling in our ears. Surrounding us was an array of distinctive Himalayan creatures, from the inquisitive and skittish mousehares to the monal birds with feathers as bright as the vivid alpine sunset. Before long, the sun began to set and the darkness engulfed the trees. Will our perilous journey ever end? Our hearts raced at the prospect of spending the night in the increasingly dangerous forest. Okay, so there is our Waggle. Obviously, I've read it to you, but you've still got it on your screen, so you can read it as well. What I'd like you to do now is I'd like to pause this video. I'd like you to have a go at picking apart our Waggle. What features have we used in our Waggle? Is there anything that you'd like to magnify? Any adjectives, any verbs that you particularly like? Thinking about our Rainbow Grammar, what types of sentences have we used? Are all the sentences the same type of sentence, or is there a variety of different sentences in there? What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause the video and see how many features you can pick out from our Waggle. Do that for me now, please. Wonderful. Right, hopefully you've had a chance to pause our video and have a look at some of the features. What we're going to do now is we're going to together have a look at what kind of makes this Waggle good. So what makes it a good one? What has it got in it that we want to replicate and we want to copy into our work? Okay, what is it about this Waggle that's helping us to visualise, because hopefully you can now be visualising, help you visualise the scene where Asher and Jeevan are. So we kind of have a quick look. Beneath the towering peaks of the mountains, amongst the forest of ancient trees, the woodland was alive with the mesmerising sights and sounds of rural India. Now there, right at the start, I have used two adverbial phrases. Adverbial phrases tell us when, where, or how. These two adverbial phrases are both telling us where, because they're telling us we're beneath the towering peaks of the mountains and we're amongst the forest of ancient trees. Okay, so I'm starting off my setting description by telling us where. The sunlight poured through the forest canopy and danced on the leaves below, but the air was still bitterly cold, biting at our cheeks like razor blades. Now, this sentence is a compound sentence because it uses but, which is a coordinating conjunction. So I've got two main clauses going on there. I've also got biting at our cheeks like razor blades. Hopefully, you're shouting at your screen right now and you're telling me this is a simile because it is comparing two things using like or as. I don't think we should go in any further, Asher. Jeevan pleaded, beginning to look increasingly anxious. So here we've used some direct speech to tell us what one of the characters is saying. So here Jeevan is saying something. We've also we've used a better verb than just said. We've used pleaded to help kind of start build a picture of how Jeevan is feeling. Stretched out as far as the eye could see, the magnificent pine trees were cloaked in a layer of snow until the winter sun began to warm the branches. Here, we've used a subordinate clause because I can see here we've used a subordinating conjunction until. That tells me that this bit, until the winter sun began to slowly warm the branches, is our subordinate clause. Hopefully, you're able to tell me what type of sentence this is if it's got a subordinate clause in it. Hopefully, I can feel it at home. I can feel that you are telling me this is a complex sentence because I've got a main clause and a subordinate clause. Rapidly, this is a front adverbial that is telling me how. So it's telling me rapidly, the stream, an outlet of the Narmada River, flowed nearby. The sound trickling in our ears. Now, this is some new learning. I don't want you to worry about this too much. Okay, in fact, I don't want you to worry about this at all, but I'm just going to tell you this now so you've heard the word. This is in a positive. An outlet of the Narmada River is in a positive. This is adding more information to our noun, which is the stream. Okay, I don't want you to worry about that big word, the positive. However, I just wanted to point out that some of you are already using these things in your writing, okay, and they have got fancy names. So that was that bit. Surrounding us was an array of distinctive Himalayan creatures, from the inquisitive and skittish mouse hares to the monal birds, with feathers as bright as a vivid alpine sunset. Okay, so here again, I've got that fronted adverbial, that adverbial phrase that comes at the start, which tells us where, surrounding us, was an array of distinctive Himalayan creatures. And I'm using here a simile again, feathers as bright as a vivid alpine sunset. Before long, adverbial phrase telling me when, the sun began to set and the darkness engulfed the trees. Will our perilous journey ever end? Will our perilous journey ever end is an example of a rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is a question that does not require an answer. Our hearts raced at the prospect of spending the night in the increasingly dangerous forest. Okay, hopefully you're able to tell me that in that last sentence I've got a metaphor, because hearts racing is a metaphor, because hearts aren't really racing. Okay, it's a word that we use to make it seem like someone is quite scared, nervous, because their heart is beating very quickly. So that is our Waggle for this week. Hopefully some of those features that I just talked through you were able to identify as well, and hopefully you are feeling very inspired to write your own setting description, because this is a setting description that I wrote, but I followed our structure of bad waivers, which is what we're going to do later in the week. So all of us are going to be able to write a setting description just as good or even better as this one. Now, what we're going to do for the rest of today is we're going to have a bit of a rewind with our rainbow grammar, because this is going to help us throughout the week for when we're building our own sentences, because we're going to be referring back to this quite a lot. And I know it's been quite a long time since some of us have looked at the basics. So first we're going to look at simple sentence, and a simple sentence includes three things. The first one is a subject, the second one is a predicate, and then finally it always has to have a stop. Can you have a go at pausing the video now and seeing if you can tell me what I mean by these words subject, predicate and stop? Have a go. Wonderful. Hopefully you've had a little go. Okay, it doesn't matter if your definitions aren't exactly the same as mine, but hopefully we can remember the definitions that we did, or we at least kind of have got an idea. So the subject is what or who the sentence is about. For example, Miss Sison went to the shop. The subject would be Miss Sison because the sentence was about her. Predicate is what do we know about the subject. So if our sentence again was Miss Dyson, keep using you as an example, went to the shop, then what we know about the subject, well, it would be that she went to the shop. So our predicate would be went to the shop. Our predicate always includes a verb because something is always being done. And finally, our stop is the easiest one probably, is how we stop the sentence. Quite often with a full stop, sometimes with an exclamation mark, and if we're asking a question, with a question mark. Okay, so they are the three parts that make up our simple sentence. Can you have a go now then at writing our rainbow grammar card, writing our sentences? These are all simple sentences, so they should only need a green, an orange, and a red for a subject, a predicate, and a stop. Can you have a go for me writing these sentences onto your rainbow grammar cards? Pause the video now, have a go, and then play when you're ready to look at the answers. Wonderful. Hopefully you've all had a go at that for me and you've identified the subject, the predicate and the stop in each sentence. So here we're going to have a look at our answers. So we can see the sunlight poured through the forest canopy. So I'm thinking, what is the sentence about? Well, it's about the sunlight. So that bit, the sunlight, is going to be on our green card. What was the subject doing? What do we know about the subject? Well, the subject was pouring through the forest canopy. So the predicate is going to be poured through the forest canopy. Here we've got poured, which is our verb. So I'm going to underline my verb. And finally, I've got full stop, stopping my sentence. That's going to go on my red card, just like we would with our rainbow grammar cards. Wonderful. The air was bitterly cold. What's the subject? The subject is the air. That's what we're talking about. Was bitterly cold is our predicate because it's telling me what do we know about the air? Well, it was bitterly cold. Now here, our verb is a little bit trickier because our verb is was, and was is one of these verbs that is a bit tricky because we don't really see it as a doing word. We just have to remember that it is. And finally, we've got our full stop, stopping that sentence. Finally, an array of distinctive creatures surrounded us. This time, this is where some of us might have got a bit confused because usually we're used to our subject being smaller than our predicate. Here, we had quite a few words that were describing our subject. That subject was an array of distinctive creatures, meaning kind of a variety, a lot of distinctive creatures surrounded us. So the subject is an array of distinctive creatures, and our predicate, what do we know about them? Well, they surrounded us, which is our predicate, with a full stop to stop the sentence. Wonderful, well done if you got those right and put those onto the correct rainbow grammar card. Wonderful, just had a little bit of a technical issue. Hopefully I've been able to fix it with the help of my IT guru, Dyson. So this time then I've given you a different type of sentence. I wonder if you can put this sentence onto rainbow grammar cards and tell me what type of sentence I have made now. Okay, so pause the video for me. Can you have a go at putting this onto your rainbow grammar cards or just write it in rainbow grammar colours? Sorry, I keep saying rainbow grammar cards. You don't have them at home, but you do have the rainbow grammar colours, hopefully. Wonderful. And you're going to play when you're ready. Hopefully you've had a go at that now because we're going to look at the answers. This time then, I had a sentence. In my sentence, I had two main clauses because I had two subjects and two predicates. And I joined my subjects and my predicates together using a coordinating conjunction, which here was and. So I've got the sunlight poured through the forest canopy, and it danced on the leaves below. I can just check that this is definitely a compound sentence because I'm going to check that both my main clauses make sense on their own. So the sunlight poured through the forest canopy, that makes sense on its own. It danced on the leaves below, makes sense on its own. Okay, so this type of sentence is a compound sentence because it is made up of two main clauses. They are joined together by a coordinating conjunction. Fabulous. Hopefully, we remembered that knowledge about our compound sentences and we got those on the correct cards. Bonus points if you remember the triangle as well. Wonderful. Here's another one for you to have a go at then. This is our third type of sentence and the one that we've done most recently. So hopefully, we should all remember what card this sentence is going to go on. So we want to pause the video now and have a go at writing it in your rainbow grammar colours. Or if you don't have the colours, you can just label it. Okay, how do you think this would look on rainbow grammar colours? Wonderful. Hopefully we've all had a go at that. Let's have a look then. So this sentence is a complex sentence because it has a main clause and a subordinate clause. Okay, I know it's got a subordinate clause because I can see in there my subordinating conjunction. So that subordinating conjunction is introducing my subordinate clause. So I've got magnificent pine trees, which is my subject. Were cloaked in a layer of snow is my predicate. Until the winter sun began to warm its branches is my subordinate clause. And I've got my full stop, stopping my sentence there at the end. Now, I can just check that this is a subordinate complex sentence because I know that my main clause should make sense on its own. So I'm just going to check that. The magnificent pine trees were cloaked in a layer of snow. Perfect. I could get rid of my blue card and that would still make sense. Until the warm sun began to warm the branches. Now, my blue card doesn't make sense on its own, which is absolutely right because a subordinate clause can't stand alone. Okay, it needs that main clause there to make that sentence make sense. Well done if you put those on the right colours. What we're going to have a go at doing now then is we're going to have a go at writing our own simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. Okay, and you're going to be writing it about this picture here, which is of a beautiful snowy mountain with a vivid sunset going off behind it as well. So it's up to you what you write your sentences about this mountain, okay? But you need to make sure that you are following the structures here. So I'm going to have a go first. So first it's going to be my turn, then it is your turn. So I'm just going to pause the video while I get my rainbow grammar cards ready. Oh, it's still going. Just going to carry on while I get my rainbow grammar cards ready, and then we're going to play it. Well, you can carry on. I'm just going to pause. Wonderful. So I have had to go at my first sentence, which is a simple sentence. So it's only made up of a subject, a predicate, and a stop. I've written about the peak of the mountain, which is my subject. So I've said the peak of the mountain was cloaked in fresh white snow. And I've stopped it with a full stop. So the peak of the mountain, not forgetting that I've done a capital letter for my the, was cloaked in fresh white snow. What's my verb in this sentence? Okay, my verb is was. Okay, so I've got the peak of the mountain was cloaked in fresh white snow. What I'd like you to have a go at doing now is I'd like you to write your own simple sentence about our picture. Now, for this particular activity, I am not very worried about the language that you choose to use. I am more worried about you putting the right bits of the sentence on the right cards. If you would like to use some very wow vocabulary to wow us, that is great. However, I am more interested to see whether we can put the words on the right cards. So pause the video now and have a go for me at your simple sentence. Wonderful. Right, what we're going to do now then is we're going to have a go at writing a compound sentence. So I'm just going to pause the video while I get my rainbow grammar cards all ready. Wonderful. So here then, I've had to go at writing a compound sentence. In a compound sentence, we have two main clauses and they are joined together with a coordinating conjunction. So these could be and, but, or so. So I've used and here. So it's at the peak of the mountain, which is my first subject, was cloaked in fresh white snow, my first predicate, and is my coordinating conjunction. The winter sun, my second subject, was beginning to set, my second predicate. Finally, ending my sentence with a full stop. Can you have a go now at writing your own compound sentence about our scene that we can see on our slide? Wonderful, and you can play the video when you're ready. Fabulous. Finally then, we're going to have a look at our complex sentence. So I'm just going to pause and get my rainbow grammar cards ready to show you my turn. Wonderful. Here then, I've had to go at writing a complex sentence. So I've got a main clause and a subordinate clause. So the temperature began to plummet is my main clause, made up of my subject and my predicate. As the winter sun set is my subordinate clause. I know it's a subordinate clause because it starts with as subordinating conjunction as. Finally, I'm stopping my sentence with a full stop. Now, I want you to have a go at writing your own complex sentence, remembering that you're going to need to use a subordinating conjunction, to start your subordinate clause. So remember, I saw a Waggle, which is our, which helps us to remember the subordinate clauses that we've used at school. So I'm just going to come back. Wonderful, we've got a lot of different camera locations today, so I hope this is all working. They were our four sentence types that we've been looking at today. What I would like you to do is I'd like you to, hopefully, you've been writing your sentences as we've gone along, so you've done my turn and then your turn. I'd like you to take a picture of your sentences so we can see what you've been getting up to. Even better if you can do them, if you've done them in rainbow grammar colours. Okay, so we can see that you recognise the subject, the predicate, the stop, and then sometimes the subordinate clause as well. This afternoon, you are doing geography. Now, your geography lesson is going to link to tomorrow's English. So you need to make sure you do geography this afternoon so you know what's going on tomorrow. Have a lovely day. Can't wait to see what you've got up to, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.